Hello, I'm Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram, and this is fucking talking shit with Eagle, episode 385. Hopefully you guys have had a great Thursday. I have one heck of amazing guest with us tonight. We have Jason from Dark Horse Genetics. How you doing, my friend? You want to tell everybody how you're doing, and of course where they can't find you in case they're under a rock?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, man. Really appreciate it. Jason from Dark Horse Genetics. Um, Instagram, Dark Horse Genetics, just one word, or darkhorsegenetics.com. But yeah, I'm doing good. A little bit worn out from 420. We had a shit ton of orders come through, so been a few long nights here, a little bit worn down, but happy to be on the show and talk some shit.
Yeah, 420. I'm glad to hear that it was an amazing day for you. Of course, it is kind of a stoner holiday. Everybody has cannabis on the mind, and huh, I'm glad it worked out very well for you.
I call it the Super Bowl of 420 is the breeder Super Bowl. It's definitely the busiest day of the year. Every breeder has their biggest day, and the following week is the busiest times for those guys once a year. But yeah, it's a good old 420.
I'm I'm still recovering myself, to be honest with you. I did my second 24-hour special this year, uh, where we did this basically, well, 24 plus hours from 11 9 or 419 at 11:30 to well 420 the evening we went past. We went into 421 there. So it was
Credit,
a pretty
man.
cool day.
Yeah, I don't think I could ever do a 24-hour stream. But all the credit to you. I mean, yeah, I would definitely run out of shit to say and talk about, but you're a pro.
Oh no, I run out of shit to talk about. And it's this year was a little bit different than last year. Last year we had it a little bit in like groups of three. So it'd be like me and you, and then halfway through your time slot, somebody else would come in and then, kind of lively up the
Segments.
conversation. And that's the way it went all day. But this year was, yeah, this year is more like a free for all. And we had 20 people, 10, 20 people at one point in there. Good day. A little confusing at point. Good day. So what are you smoking on over there, my friend?
Right now I'm smoking Skittles. I get in phases where I smoke the same strain. I shit you not, I'm not even bullshitting you. I smoke the same strain for 2 or 3 years at a time. And right now I'm on Skittles and I've smoked this for almost 2 years straight. And I don't know. I love it. So I go hard on it. And before that it was OG Kush probably. Before that, well, sour diesel maybe. But sometimes I just lock into some strains and I'm on the hunt for them and I just smoke them nonstop. But I would say as of late, I'm smoking almost exclusively Skittles, a little bit of Purple Starburst. But I'm in love with Skittles.
It's a great strain. It's a great strain. I can see it. I can see
It's
it.
hard to grow, so we have a perpetual harvest here in Denver, Colorado, and it's I think we have 20 moms so that we can have at least I think 400 cuts every 2 weeks, and of those 400 cuts, maybe 200 live, and of those 200, maybe 100 go forward after stunting or any weird shit happens. So the plant is one of the hardest plants I've ever had to grow, but I love it so much that it's worth that trade off for me. But yeah, that it's a trickier plant. It likes a a sandier soil and a lot less light, a lot less water. You can overwater it really easy. So it's a finicky little bitch, but when you get it right, it's phenomenal.
Have you always been in Colorado?
I was born in Iowa, but I moved to Colorado at like kindergarten, so I consider myself a Colorado kid. I went to college in Montana, University of Montana, Missoula. So I spent some time up there, and yeah, but I've basically always called myself a Colorado guy. Yeah, when I was in school in Missoula, Montana, It was 2007 or so, and that's when Colorado 2008 and 9 started taking off with their cannabis, their legal cannabis, their medical system. So went right around the time that I was kind of wrapping up with school, I was like, well, I'm gonna head back home because I know exactly what to do. I worked on minor in botany and a marketing degree. So it was botany and marketing, and I kind of knew exactly what to do when I saw cannabis exploding. I was like, I know what to do now. So that was sort of the plan. I went back home and started a shop.
So it sounds like with botany, uh, you've already had a love for growing then, or at least somewhat of a interest in plants before. How long has
Yeah,
that went back? I
I
mean,
say I don't want to like mislead anybody. So the botany was entirely so I could grow a better weed. I was already growing weed at the time. I was a non-traditional freshman, so I went to school at like 25 years old, and I'd already grown pot, and I was like, I can pick up some botany courses and maybe grow better weed. When I went to the botany courses, I was stunned at how much it didn't help me grow better weed. It was a ton of memorization of common names, scientific names. The finals were walking around the campus, identifying like 700 different species. And while it made me a more well-rounded gardener, I don't know. It was one of the hardest things I ever did, and it involved tons of stuff that I wasn't interested in. If I'm not that interested in it, I have a hard time retaining the information. So those were the tests I specifically crammed for. I would stay up all night long, and cram, walk in, take the test, and by the time I was turning the paper in and walking out the door, I had already released all that information out of the back of my brain. So yeah, and also it was just I want to say minor. It was just something where I picked it up because in the science department you could pick up minors. So I was just like, well, I'll stay in the botany thing. But yeah, I've always had a love for plants, but I wouldn't even say I can grow other plants that well. I specialize in cannabis because I've killed many house plants.
well, I guess then, well, we should start right where I do with everybody else. I mean, it sounds like you've had a pretty good run with cannabis. Usually I start things right off with that first time. You mind sharing when the first time cannabis entered your life?
First time I ever smoked cannabis, sure. I don't recall the age exactly. I think it was like 14 or 15. And I remember going behind the barn of my friend's house. He had some swag. We rolled a joint, and we smoked the joint in his barn out in the backyard. And I didn't think it did anything to me. And we went bowling right afterwards. He was 16, so we jumped in his car and went to the bowling alley. And on the interstate, I remember feeling an immense sensation of speed, like the car was going too fast, and I was kind of wigging out a little bit. And that was the first time that I ever smoked cannabis, and it was, I don't know, it was wild because I didn't think that something like that could possibly happen from smoking cannabis, but it slowly turned me on to this whole lifestyle, if you will. But I would say I was raised on swag. There was many a time when there was no weed around in southern Colorado. So we would drive to Boulder, try to get weed off the hill. We go to Fort Collins, try to get weed from the hippies over there. But a lot of times there was nothing. So we smoked swag growing up. And I laugh about that now because we've been so spoiled with dispensaries around every other corner and been able to smoke the best weed for years. But yeah, growing up, man, I would say it was tricky to get good weed, and we smoked a lot of swag. One of those dugouts, and one of those like little ceramic, like what do they call it? Like cigarette little pins, little one hitters. Like that dates me, but that's how we smoked back in like high school. Was everyone had swag that was de-seeded at home. You de-seed it, put it in your little dugout, and then walking around taking pulls of one hits of swag. Yeah, that was the early days.
I often say that, man, I'm so glad that the next gen will never, hopefully, know what brickweed and brown weed and all that swag is.
Right.
Hopefully, we've come to that point where it'll be just like old men. Yeah, I remember the day when we got all our brick and weed bricks. Yeah, yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful time we're in. Seemed like Colorado, well, though. I mean, I'm from Michigan, Michigan native my whole life, but it seemed like Colorado, with being so close to the West Coast and so close to the Mexican border there, that you know There'd be something floating around constantly.
Yeah, I mean, we had good weed. We had batches of good weed from like the hippies, and then we had shit weed pretty regular. But the stuff that stands out to me growing up that was special, like we had NL5 haze, which was cough, Fort Collins cough. So we had the cough floating around Fort Collins. There was also Fort Collins sage. So there was a sage that was floating around up there. But we also used to get really good blueberries back in the day, AK-47. There was a guy that came to town that had really good AK-47. But yeah, a lot of times it was all about who you knew, and being a youngster, you don't know anything. So or anyone. So it was hard to I get access to anything good. But my struggles was real growing up as far as getting any good weed. And I remember treasuring, like literally treasuring a batch of good. We buy an ounce of sour diesel or something, and just like it's like Gollum with the ring. I would just hoard that shit and go to the basement, and nobody talked to me. I didn't even want to share it. It was so good. I recall days of like GTA and sour diesel. Like if I had an ounce of sour diesel, and I would go play GTA, and you wouldn't see me for a week, because that was my thing.
What was that ounce of sour D going for at that time?
About $400, which is ironically the reason I got into growing cannabis, because I was going broke buying sour diesel ounces. I was like, all right, I got to figure a way to do this where I'm not going to be poor as fuck all the time. I was like, I got to have good weed, but I can't be broke. So how's this work? Which the natural conclusion was, well, let's grow some. And I remember reading an article in the back of a High Times. There's something about it's called the C22 cabinet, and this will date me a little bit too. But if people might remember overgrow.com, there was a whole thread on there, or a whole subsection on there about Mills Mills closets that you buy at Home Depot, and it was a white closet. You could open it up, and then inside you could put a 4,000 400-watt light, or like a couple of, I don't even remember what they were, like 100 waters, but it was all a whole thread dedicated to growing in a cabinet in a closet. And I started there, and I built this tiny micro grow, and I started growing 4 or 5 plants and figuring out how to do it. And then I knew a buddy who had the sour diesel. So when we got the sour diesel clone, I plugged it in and killed it immediately. But because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. But then I learned off Overgrow, entirely off trial and error, reading books, DVDs, everything else. But yeah, the early days of smoking sour diesel is 100% why I started growing cannabis, because I had to figure out how to do this on my own.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Even cooler, you were able to get your hands on a cut of it so early on.
It was actually an accident. Like,
Most people don't get that lucky.
totally, it was an accident, because the guy we were getting the sour from was a musician here in Denver, and he had a buddy that was growing it, and we went over to his house to buy the sour one time, and he had a couple plants sitting in the corner. And he's like, "Oh, those are extras from the sour." And we're like, "Can we take one?" He's like, "Sure, take one." And I knew that he probably wasn't supposed to give me one and all the rest of that, but we didn't know shit at that time. I literally didn't. I had a couple of High Times magazines and a website, and I was just trying to piece it all together. And I think we took that sour diesel. This is embarrassing, but I think we took that sour diesel clone home at that time and put it under like a Home Depot grow lamp in the closet, and it stretched to the moon. And before you knew it, someone watered it something wrong. It fried it up and killed it. And it was one of those moments where like we really just fucked up, and we know we really just fucked up. But how are we going to correct this? And that led me to buying the first seed pack that I ever popped, which was NYC diesel from Soma Seeds, because I wanted sour diesel, but I didn't know that sour diesel and NYC diesel were completely different things, like many people at the time. So I was hunting sour, but looking in all the wrong places. So if you guys don't know out there, NYC diesel from Soma is not sour diesel from New York City or the East Coast.
So did you ever get that cut back? That original one that you loved so much, the one that drew you in?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We got it back like a year later. Same crew still has it in Denver, still grows it, still grows great batches. They've made like a career out of sour diesel. But yeah, it's funny because I got it back, not that long after this incident. I starting to learn how to grow. We were just talking about it the other day. I was like, we need to get that sour D cut back. It's been a minute since we've had that cut, and we called the same people, and yeah, we got it. So I'm pretty sure that it's back in the stable from the same people that we got all the way back in the beginning, which is kind of a funny thing. But I don't know. Sour diesel is not quite the same as it once was. I think a lot of people will agree. It used to be so fucking loud that you couldn't even have it in your pocket or go into a building with anything, even if it was in a bag or a jar. It would still fucking stink. So it was hard to drive it within a car. It would get you in trouble. And yeah, I just haven't seen sour be quite the same, and I miss it. It's just like OG too. Some of these plants, some people say genetic drift, some people say dudding, but I would say I don't know, it's a 20-year-old clone, 20 sometimes 30-year-old clone. So even the best, even the ones that were maintained the best or held the best, taken care of the best, still are 30-year-old plants, and it just requires you absolutely got to baby them to the finish before they smell or perform or taste like they used to.
So how long was how which strains followed that? Were you stuck on the sour D thing for a while?
Yeah, we grew a lot of sour D. We grew the sage. Then I remember getting into seeds, and I was just started becoming a seed popper manic. Like I would literally just pop everything, anything I could. And at that time, the big site was Seed Bay. Seed Bay was an auction site where people were listing seeds, and you could buy seeds, and Seed Boutique where you can get them over in Amsterdam and they'd send them over, and it was all gypsies. Gypsy was running all that shit, and Reservoir Seeds was like the king at the time. Reservoir Seeds was selling drops that would sell out in like 15 minutes and crash servers and break internets, and same shit like today with other breeders, but it was just Reservoir was doing at that time. So I remember popping a decent amount of Reservoir Seeds because he was releasing sour diesel in seed form. So I stayed on that sour kick. I stayed trying to look for that sour diesel for a minute. There was other influences though at the time. There's a guy that went by John Lee Pettimore, JLP. I don't know if he's still out there or even still alive, but he was a big influence on me. He was one of the first guys on Overgrow that I hit up and said, "Hey man, can I give some seeds?" And he sent me Juliet and Romeo, which was a NYC diesel to Cindy 99, and then Romeo was Cindy 99 to NYC diesel. So it was vice versa of the male and the female. And the Juliet that I found was one of the best phenos that still to this day that I've ever found. It tasted like grapefruit shark snacks, or what's the fruit snacks, like the little fruit snacks you give kids in their lunch. It literally smelled like some sort of artificial grapey fruit snacky kind of thing. And I still kept it to this day. I still use it. I've used it in strawberry shortcake crosses, and yeah, it also has cherry tones in there, real heavy cherry tones. But JLP gave me that was free seed, and I just got amazing pot out of it. And that made me, I always say this, but that made me kind of famous in a time when you didn't want to be famous. Like people would come up to me at concerts or shows or wherever and be like, "I heard you grow fire weed. I heard you got awesome weed." And I heard it was just like, fuck man, because I would pass that weed out or sell that weed around to a few people, but it was so good that everyone chattered around town, and that made me really nervous. So about the same time that I scored some Reservoir strawberry diesel seeds, I was heading to Montana to go to college because of the fact that I was getting to be a little bit too popular in Colorado or in Denver in my circles. And I was just like, my name's in everyone's mouth, and this shit's super illegal, and everyone knows what I do here. So I have to relocate and get the fuck out of here, which I was down to do. But when I moved to Montana, that's when I started strawberry diesel. And similarly, at the same time, I had gotten the real OG Kush in Boulder. And I say real OG Kush, there was just one OG Kush at the time. There wasn't a whole bunch of OG Kushes. So I just the OG Kush, and it was phenomenal herb too. It was just as good as the sour, if not better. I actually think it was better. To my personal belief is it was a little bit better. So I loved that OG, and I got hooked on that OG. So I took it with me to Montana, and in Montana, that's when it was really about OG, Juliet, sour diesel, strawberry diesel, which is a seed pack that I had gotten from Reservoir Seeds. And that was sort of my jam at that time, which leads me to creating Bruce Banner, I guess, if that's where you want to go.
At that point, well, I mean, when did you actually start getting into wanting to breed? I mean,
Right there at that moment, because I know the exact moment, and it wasn't even like a conscious thought, like, oh, I'm going to become a breeder now. It was, I was online. I bought the Reservoir Strawberry Diesel seeds, came online, the very first version. There was a few versions that got released, but the first version of Reservoir Seeds Strawberry Diesel came online on Seed Bay. And I had to stay up because this was a European site. I had to stay up till fuck, I don't even know, like 3 or 4 in the morning to let him list them. And he was listing them in chunks, like 5 at a time. And when he listed one, I was able to buy or get the buy it now button and click and purchase and put all my info in and push enter. And as soon as I pushed enter, the website crashed, the server crashed, and the screen went like internal error, server error, whatever. And I had no idea if I had won or lost the seeds, or the had bought in these seeds. And I knew that they were going to be sold out in the morning when I woke up. So, but I just said fuck it, because I had literally waited all night to try to do this. And I just went to bed, and I woke up the next morning, and in my inbox there was a message saying that, you know, congratulations, you won, or you purchased this pack of seeds or whatever it may be. So I immediately sent in my cash for that. And when they got to me and I started them, I immediately thought, okay, I know these seeds are so valuable that they crash a website. I really only care about the females, but it would be an injustice almost to like just throw away the males, just kill the males like I normally do. So I decided to keep the males for the first time, knowing that they were incredibly valuable. And I just said, fuck it. The best plant that I have is OG Kush. And it was literally, I love the flavor, I love the taste. And I already knew, I was like, strawberry diesel, strawberry flavor to OG Kush. I want to make a strawberry OG. So it wasn't even like I'm planning this as much as it was like, if you don't do this, you're a moron. And so I did. And I took the strawberry diesel males. There was a couple of them. There was 3 different males, and I pollinated individual branches of different plants of different OGs, not different, the same OG, but I had multiple clones, and I pollinated different branches of it with different males. And then I also did what I bet you might call an orgy or terrible breeding practice, which was to basically mix the pollen and throw them on the top colas. So I had no idea what was what on the top colas. Again, I wasn't reading a lot about breeding at the time. I was more or less just sort of chucking and playing around. And I always say that, like, when I made Bruce Banner, it wasn't an accident. It was on purpose, but it wasn't. It was more of a chuck than a breeding project. And when we did the pollination, I got the seeds from the OG Kush. I remember this, and the OG was bomb. And I went to a concert in Horning's Hideout in Oregon. I believe it was in Oregon. Yeah, it's like a backwoods amphitheater. Some people probably know, but Horning's Hideout. And I went to go see String Cheese. When I went out there, I took all the OG Kush with me. And no, I got my story backwards. It's actually Vail, Colorado. I went back to see String Cheese in Colorado. It was in Dobson Ice Arena. That's where it was. And the Dobson Ice Arena, I had the OG Kush with me, and everybody wanted to smoke the OG because, again, back in Colorado, my crew kind of knew I had the good weed. So I would come up like, I want that OG. I want that OG. And I didn't want to sell it because it was pollinated with this super special stuff. So I was just like, well, I'll give you an eighth, but I really need the seeds out of it. I was like, it has seeds and I really want the seeds back. So I passed out like a quarter pound or half pound of all this OG that was seeded and begged for the seeds back. And of those seeds, I maybe got back like 200-300 max out of all of it. There was probably 1,000 in there. Still makes me cringe to this day a little bit, but I got those seeds back. I rounded all those seeds back up individually, kind of had them labeled from what was what, and started those seeds. And with amongst those seeds is where I found Bruce Banner #1, #3, and #5. There was another pheno in there, but it wasn't great. I didn't really cultivate it much more or propagate it more, so it kind of fell off right away. But the 1, 3, and 5, and I started that seed, cracked it, grew it, and I knew it was good, but I had no idea how good it was. Again, it was my first breeding project. You start something, you start a seed, you put it in the ground, it grows, you're looking at it, you're going, it looks like good weed, smells great, looks good. But in your mind, you're kind of wondering, like, am I manufacturing my own hype? Like, is this not as good as I think it is? And I remember harvesting it, smoking it, and the very first hit being like, holy shit, like that tastes great. This is phenomenal. It tastes like strawberries on the end and OG on the back. And I was like, this is fucking great. I think this weed might be the best weed I've ever smoked in my life. But I knew that, I made this, so I don't think that it's probably going to be, it's in my head a little bit. So I took it to some friends, and I I remember going back to a concert. This is the concert in Oregon. So I remember going to the concert in Oregon, and I had the first batch of Bruce Banner. And when I went to the concert in Oregon, I had 3 different jars, and I went and saw my same crew again. And I passed out this weed in the lot this time, which was OG Kush to Strawberry Diesel, and I called it Strawberry Kush. And the people there bought it on the first day, and then it was a 3-day concert run. And on the third day, everybody was kind of running around being like, anybody seeing that Bruce Banner guy? I need that Bruce Banner weed. And my last name's Hulk, if you guys weren't aware, like Hulk Hogan or whatever the fuck. So it turned into, or Incredible Hulk. So it turned into Bruce Banner weed instead of Strawberry Kush. They just said, hey, where's that Bruce Banner weed? So by the end of the weekend, the strain was named itself. It became Bruce Banner, and it was confirmation to me that this weed was fucking good. And take it a little step further, I went after college. I went straight back to Denver, started one of the first 5 dispensaries in the state, maybe first 10 dispensaries in the state, but I was one amongst the very first people to do it. And I introduced that Bruce Banner strain. And that's also when I knew that this was something special, because it sold out immediately. And then we had people talking about it. A line started forming. People would line up in lawn chairs to try to buy it. They'd wait overnight around the block. I remember walking around the corner to the store one time, and there was people in lawn chairs waiting all the way down on the street. Something like you'd see at Cookies Today or some other shit, but it just blew me away in 2008 or 9 when weed's still hella illegal. We're all running under the medical aspect. I thought the news was going to show up or something, and I was like, I'll give everybody a number, and you come back and we'll serve you one at a time. I don't want people lined up in front of the stores freaking me out. Where really, that's, I guess, good PR or good promotion, but that scared the shit out of me at the time. But it also gave me the confirmation that, okay, this weed is super special. But yeah, I didn't become a breeder till 2000, 14. So I didn't really consciously start making strains till 2014. I had only made Bruce Banner back then, 2000, probably 6 or so, just out of that necessity of getting that seed and knowing, hey, dipshit, don't fuck this up. Don't throw those males away. Throw it on this OG and see what comes out of it. And yeah, I mean, we hit it out of the park with that, or hit it out of the park with that one. It's certainly, you can call me a one-hit wonder all you want. We have several strains, but that one built my career, as our flagship, and it's one of the, I don't know, it speaks for itself. It's one of the most famous strains in the world somehow, and sometimes it freaks me out. People say, oh, you're the Bruce Banner guy. I was like, what the fuck? Oh yeah, weird. Halfway around the world.
Man, that's got to be an amazing feeling. I can't imagine fucking people waiting overnight and shit to buy fucking seeds and shit like that. That's got to be.
This was just the weed. We limited them to a quarter per purchase, and that also pissed people off. But we tried to share it enough around the city, and yeah, we also started selling clones at that time. We waited. I think this is the perfect way to release a strain that's hot like this, and this is the perfect way to market one. This is also the perfect way to release one, because everybody wants what they can't have. But if you say, okay, we have the hottest cut going right now, and we're going to sell it at our shop, and we're going to hold an exclusivity on it for a year to 2 or even 3 years, but you announce a date that you're going to release it, and we announced the date of Christmas 2 years after that we had started selling the plant. I said, in 2 years, I'm going to sell this cut to the public, and a year from there, we released it to dispensaries. So we had 1 year exclusivity. The second year, I sold it to a dozen shops because I couldn't fill demand. As much as I like seeing a line down the street, it was better to go ahead and put that product out and get it, across the market through some partners and produce more of it. So we did that for the second year, but on the third year, essentially, we sold it to the public. And I remember taking a whole lot of shit because I sold the clone like software. If you were a dispensary and you were going to grow it and you were going to whatever you wanted to do with it, I sold it to her $1,000. If you were a guy off the street, it was $50. And people thought that was outrageous. They were like, that is fucking outrageous. Like, want to spit in my face kind of shit for trying to sell a clone for $1,000. And people would troll me and all the rest of it. But I look at it today and I'm just like, it makes sense to me. If you own a business and you're going to be selling pounds of the shit and you're going to become your house strain and you're going to literally build everything off of this, $1,000 is nothing. It's literally nothing, But if you're a guy off the street that just wants it for yourself, $50, that's, it's worth, at the time, clones were $15 to $20 maybe. So I charge you double for a super good clone at home. But I remember Yeah, we sold a shit ton of clones, and that's also what released it to the world because people faked it initially, then they got it, and then it sort of just went everywhere. And something about holding it back, keeping it away from people, making them almost froth for it, and then just putting it out in bulk form. And then all of a sudden, you knew it was on the West Coast. It was in Cali. I remember Harborside got it, and Harborside started selling clones of it. I knew from there. I was like, okay, well, it's going to make its way around the world now. And yeah, I mean, we were in Spain not that long ago, and it was in some clubs over there, and it weirds me out sometimes to see the the exact clone like all over the world. But yeah, there also we've since sold seed of it, so or a version of it in seed. So it gets a little bit muddied up now too when you go to dispensaries and you're after Bruce Banner. A lot of times it's the number 5 pheno because the 5 got widely passed when the number 3 was held a lot tighter, and then or it's a pheno of a seed that that we put out or somebody else put out. But yeah, so it's a little trickier to nail down the exact one now, but at the same time, Bruce Banner's far and wide. So yeah, it's the strain just took a life of its own and sort of weirds me out.
Cheddar Bob 13 in chat would like to know what's your favorite version of Bruce Banner? He's running the number 3 right now. I'm very stoked, very pleased.
Sure, the number 3 pheno has always been my favorite. Like the number 3 pheno is the OG Dom. So I'll go through the phenos a little bit. And the number 1 pheno was more of a hybrid of all of it down the road, yielded medium, I would say. The number 3 was almost all OG with strawberry terps, just strawberry OG all day. And the number 5 was like intense strawberry with not as much OG. So it's just more and more and more strawberry. But the number 3 was my favorite clone. Now there's also more confusion. I don't know if I'm confusing the fuck out of everybody with this, but I put out seeds. So in the batches of seeds, I did a Bruce Banner 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. And that was a back cross to the Bruce Banner 3. Each point oh was going back cross again. So back cross BX1, 2, and 3. So I tried to back cross that in seed form. So if you have Bruce Banner 1.0, 2.0, or 3.0 in seed form, you have a Bruce Banner 3 back cross. But I have since released Bruce Banner that I call original Bruce Banner. And original Bruce Banner is in seed form the original OG Kush, the exact same mother that I used way back when, and a new version of Reservoir Strawberry Diesel male that I got recently. Some seeds and I cracked and I got a male. So I recreated what I did back in college with the exact same genetics to find amongst those seeds the number 1, the 3, and the 5 phenos. So they exist amongst the original Bruce Banner phenos. So there's, to be clear, there's clone onlys floating around of Bruce Banner 1, 3, 5. There's Bruce Banner back crosses to back cross Bruce Banner number 3, Bruce Banner 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. And then there's also original Bruce Banner, which is a recreation of the original cross that created Bruce Banner. Sorry if that confuses the shit out of everybody.
Not really, but I'm glad you made the clarity of it all. But you say kind of one hit wonder. I don't see that at all. Not at all. I just think of it. It's a beautiful first step out, man. We all. What is it like? I mean, come on. High times, strongest strain. You know, first out, and you get something like that. I mean,
Well, the weird thing about it
that's tough
was
to compete with. I don't care who you are or what you create. That shit's tough to follow up, man.
I appreciate it, but yeah, the weird thing about it is the time it takes for a strain to pop too. Like I knew it was good in 2007, or I knew I had the fire in 2007 in my closet. I was like, oh shit, this is amazing. No one in the world knows except for small people in a parking lot at a string cheese incident. You know what I mean? And then I brought it to the city in 2008, 2009, and lined that up, and that started it a little bit, but really Bruce Banner didn't become a household name or like started popping until it got on the coast. When California got it, when Harborside got it, that was big. But then I remember there was a period of time, I can't remember the exact year, but it became $800 an ounce strain in New York City, and all the high times guys were smoking it, and they were raving and ranting and raving about this herb, and it kind of just kept taking its way across the globe and getting bigger and bigger. But I'll be honest, Bruce Banner is my flagship. It is my namesake because my last name's Hulk and all, but it's literally given me everything. Like those, without the strain, I wouldn't be where I am today. Without that wonderful, beautiful, I want to call it accident, but little Chuck, I definitely wouldn't be where I am today 20 years later, because I wouldn't be able to go get an investor to get in the legal market and say, hey, I need to borrow millions of dollars. And the guy's going to look at me. And if I'm Joe Blow Instagram guy with some pretty pictures and I say, trust me, I'm good. Trust me, I know it. I'm good. If I bring the investor a fucking cover of High Times and say, I got the strongest strain on earth. I'm the best. I want to say best breeder. I breed the strongest weed on earth. I need to borrow $1 million. I know what the fuck I'm doing. He's like, oh shit. Him and his buddy's like, maybe we got the High Times guy that this dude's whatever's on our team. It broke down all the fucking doors. It broke down all of the doors. So I'm eternally grateful to High Times. I'm immensely grateful to, I think Danny Danko was the one that wrote that article that just did that. And it literally changed things. Winning some cups changed things a little bit too. The weed actually being good changed things. But I'm under no like illusion that, I don't know. While I say I've earned it, I've also, it was a gift. I got lucky. I literally got lucky, because if that strain turns out like dog shit and it doesn't become amazing, I'm just another guy growing weed, trying to get it an investment, trying to build a shop. You know what I mean? And the fact that I bred that, I call popping seeds like, the lottery. I won the lottery there. Or even creating seeds, you kind of you kind of tweak the odds in your favor when you make seeds as a breeder, but you're still playing fucking the lottery. And when you win the lottery and you find that pheno, which, I've won the lottery a few times, but you find that pheno and you're like, oh shit, like this is special. And you know how to push it forward and control it and market it and release it. It can certainly take you places. I'll even say, for example, like Capulator, like, I know Cap, I'm not super well or anything, but his Mac 1 reminds me a lot of the Bruce Banner trajectory. It's like all of a sudden you get, people go nuts on a strain and they're like, oh shit, we got to line up and buy this. We got to get this. We got to get this. Well, the Mac 1 and the Capulator, we saw it go down. You know what I mean? You can see this happen. You see it happen with some of the cookie shit going on. You see it happen with the compound stuff or the seed junkie stuff, when all of a sudden they're $800-900 a pack and people are clamoring to get the shit. And I'm just like, okay, I would say, if you can dial it up, and what I mean by dialing it up is finding the right phenos and then turn those phenos into something, it'll open up all of it to you. But again, I'm under no like delusions that I'm the greatest thing ever. Honestly, it was one of the luckiest things that ever happened to me. But the fact that I could parlay it into where I am now and go through the doors that it opened for me, because it's certainly opened the doors.
I think you're cheating yourself a little bit there, brother, for real. So, I mean, a lot of us, shit, all of us, I don't think a lot of us, almost all of us are fucking popping seeds. You know, there we do chase that cut. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to get that good cut to have in the house, but that's that's something different. That's something different in my eyes, man. We're all looking to pop those seeds to find that unicorn, that pheno, that
Sure.
one that nobody else has got. That's
Well,
but to be able to put those couple of strains together and it be that unicorn, you know what
totally.
I mean?
It definitely
It's
worked in that
completely
instance.
different.
But what I will say also that I think is interesting is I wasn't a breeder till like 2014 or so. I started a dispensary in 2008. And what I think made me what I am better at, I'm not even a fantastic breeder. What I am good at is picking good weed. Like I'll be cocky and confident about that all day. I know good weed, I know good cannabis. And the way I know that is I grew up reading High Times like every other kid, like was a playboy sitting in the shitter or sitting hiding in the fucking treehouse or wherever the fuck it was. I read all of it cover to cover, and I knew I had the pinups in my wall and everything else. But then High Times moved to Denver, Colorado in 2008. And when I opened my first shop, one of the first ones in the state, if not, the country, I was sat there and my shop was a consignment shop. I didn't have enough. I literally had 6 lights in my basement. That's what was the grow for the dispensary. You know what I mean? I could produce a few pounds and I'd bring in and it would be a spike to sales, but I relied on the community to supply the shop. So what I became good at, it was shit you not, it was nothing more than Pawn Stars. I sat in the back of my fucking dispensary kids walked in every day, every 15 minutes with backpacks full of pounds. And they'd plop down in front of me and I'd sit there and I'd look at it and I'd eyeball it, I'd smoke it. And I got the opportunity to see way more strains than I ever would have seen otherwise. If I was just a guy even popping seeds like crazy looking for phenos, I saw all the best cuts. I saw everything come through the door from the best weed to the shittiest weed. And I was able to smoke all of it, figure out, what is the best weed. And that's why my shop in Denver kicked ass early. That's also why we had lines, is because I selected the best pot. I was the best weed picker in the city at the time amongst the shitty dispensaries that was open. You knew if you came to my store, there was going to be fire on the shelf. So the best, and I also paid the most for it. So the people that literally grew the best weed came to me first. And that immensely helped me down the line when I decided to become a breeder, is knowing that all of these different flavors, seeing all these different strains and getting it bombarded. And when I say Amsterdam came to my city, it feels like it, because everything that I was reading in those high times, all those posters, all those people, shit, even Adam Dunn, who was like a mentor of mine, they all moved here. They just showed up. All of a sudden it was like, shit, THCs is here. And, like it was interesting to me to see everybody from Amsterdam come to Denver, and Denver became the mega hub spot for a minute. And imagine being a kid idolizing the Bulls or some shit, Michael Jordan, and the entire Bulls and Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman and all those guys move to your city and open up, shops, and you can go hang out with them and see them and talk to them and pick their brain. And it was an ultimate dream come true for me. So one step in front of the other. But I think what made me a better breeder was being able to pick winners, pick good strains to put on my shelf, pick the best pot to put on my shelf. So now when I crack seeds looking for the best phenos, I've seen tons of weed out there. So it's like, I kind of know this is the one that I want. Or when I see something special, I believe it's really special, and I try to breed with the special ones. So I think it makes me a better breeder down the line, just having that immense amount of experience, literally running a consignment Pawn Stars type of shop. And I do miss that shit. It was one of the best times before the regulation came.
Regulation does take a lot of fun out of it. I hate to say that, but it's true. It's true. Ned Denver and Red Pill in chat would like to know your thoughts on Gamma Berry.
Gamma Berry was a Banner 5 cross that I hit to the Strawberry Diesel. Now, full disclosure, the Gamma Berry shows anywhere from 10 to 20% intersex traits, meaning the dreaded word Hermy. We don't sell a lot of it. I sell limited batches or do it as freebies. But yeah, the Gamma Berry, it's phenomenal. It has a longer internode length. So you're going to see 4 to 5 inches internode length between nodes. And it also only grows golf ball chunks. But all the while, you got to watch out for those Hermes. I just want a full disclosure. And that's the thing. This is the Gamma Berry brought up a debate amongst me and some of my friends about at what point do you pull a line? Because when we went through testing, we didn't really see much. We saw a nanner here or there, and I can kind of live with that. But when you start to get feedback of you're getting, this many intersex traits, we're like, all right, it's literally, I pinpointed down to, after growing large batches myself, anywhere from 10 to 15 to up to 20% intersex traits, is like, that's a line that I think that we should probably pull. And while other people are saying, don't pull it, just disclose it. And I've seen other breeders put on the pack, warning, intersex traits may be present, all the rest of that. I've also seen people literally just say, fuck it, and sell it off and not say a word about it. But me, I've been cautious to sell it. And I try to disclose when people do ask. I don't want to like hide from it. But at the same time, there's phenomenal plants within, but I wouldn't breed it. That's why I've never taken Gamma Berry down the line further. It was a one-off that we created, and I still have seeds of it today because I didn't push it out in bulk form. I never just said, hey, every seed bank in the world, take this. It's been, yeah, I got them, but do you really want them, kind of thing. And that's, full disclosure, that's how we sell them. And there's not very many left. I think we give them away. I think there's less than 20 packs left out of maybe 200-300 in the world.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you would throw that out there. Like you said, there's a lot of people that would just chuck that shit into the market now. That's the whole.
Some would say 0% is the point when you fucking don't sell a strain, right? And I would probably agree with that. But at the other times, it's like being a breeder that puts out thousands of packs in the world. It's like you get feedback from somebody, even though you've tested it and your testers say it's good and it sends you good pictures. You get feedback starting to come back in the email saying this totally hermed on me, bro. And you're going, okay, that's one. It's like maybe that guy's a dipshit, maybe not. It looks like he knows what he's doing, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe something happened there. Shit happens. Then you get another one. Then you get another one. And it's like, all right, is this a recall situation? Do we sell it the way it is? Even though I know within there's fire genetics, or how should the community handle it? How should the seed buyers handle it? How should the breeders handle it? It was just an open debate that we have, that I've had with my crew, I guess you could say. And my answer to that is it's kind of unanswered at this point. That's why we sort of still slowly sort of have the seeds. But yeah, again, Gamma Berry was bred specifically to go to the Banner 5 phenos. Hulk Smash is another one that we did that used the same male, and it came up with the same traits, and we didn't really sell that one either. So, and that was to the Banner 3. It was Gamma Berry and Hulk Smash. And both those lines I sort of held back while limited packs are in the world for people that really beg for it. But I don't know. I'm uncomfortable doing it, knowing that I have better lines to put out and would have happier customers if you went this direction. So I try to steer you a different way.
I appreciate that, your honesty all the way around on that, and I would too. I would try to. I would, just because, like you say, there could be that unicorn there. There's some greatness in the lineage, but as far as somebody coming to my storefront and wanting, I would try to steer them
Yeah,
to something else I felt was
you gotta
better.
remember
But if they were persistent,
right,
I would, like you said.
We got to remember we sell to large farms where I'll licensed OPCs, and like I also sell to huge farms. And like the last thing I want to do is just fuck some dude's whole farm up, and I know it's gonna happen. So I'm just like, I'm not gonna do that, but willingly. So it is what it is. But the interesting thing about, you might ask, why is that happening? Because the original Bruce Banner line didn't herm, and the answer to that is the original seeds from Reservoir were much more solid than whatever the fuck he put out in V2, V3, V4. And I think I popped the V4 versions that we got, which are now 12 years old. And so I bought them for a couple $100. So I was like, let me see if I can't recreate Banner with this OG, and pop those seeds. I got 4 seeds, cracked them, got 2 males, used the different males, both use intersex, both shown intersex traits. And I was just like, interesting. It didn't work. When you think about how did I create Bruce Banner 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0, we used a F, I think I want to say F6 strawberry diesel from, I'm gonna butcher this. It wasn't Karma. Damn it. Well, I sound like an idiot, but if I can remember, I'll send you a DM and you can post it in the suggestions of the video or whatever. But yeah, we used the Fractal. There it is. Fractal Genetics. Fractal Genetics put out a strawberry diesel that was like F6 or whatever. Totally stable, totally solid. That was where I found the males on that, on the recreation of the 1, 2, and 3.0s of the original Banner. We used that strawberry diesel V4, and that strawberry diesel V4, it wasn't stable. So again, I'm not sure where the herm tendencies come from, because strawberry diesel is Reservoir Seeds was strawberry cough, which is sour diesel, East Coast sour diesel. So maybe it's coming from the Kyle Cushman strawberry cough, but or even the sour diesel side. But I've made plenty of sour diesel crosses without intersex traits. So if I had to pinpoint it, it's either the Kyle Cushman or even the seeds I got, which Reservoir sold in a little baggie, were traded out for something others, and it was some sort of strawberry stuff, but it wasn't his original. Who fucking knows? With Reservoir Seeds. And again, I'm talking about Reservoir Seeds a lot, so to be clear, Reservoir Seeds is a piece of shit. And he while he did make good stuff and he set the world on fire, he also ruined everything about his name and legacy by turning snitch and ratting out Gypsy and Tim Dog and Dutch and a bunch of people. So if you don't know, no love for Rez, although the work was good, but you done fucked yourself on that deal.
So do you think it is like some indicas just don't like to be fed heavy, or in mid to late flower? Do you think that's where the Hermes were coming from?
It could possibly be that. I think it's also a light sensitivity thing. I think the minorest amount of light leakage, a pinhole leak, a red bulb on something can fuck. I know sour is light sensitive. So sour can show weird shit if you have light leaks at all. So I lean towards two temperamental strains crossed together potentially to create the strawberry diesel. But on the very first version, I remember back in 2014, it was solid. And I'll say that in general, for most cannabis strains, we're getting to a point where Hermes are everywhere. When before, I don't know, call me crazy, but I used to find better shit in, a higher keeper ratio in packs 10 years ago than I find today. I go through packs like crazy and I don't keep shit. I'm just like, yeah, nope, not good. I don't want this. Don't want this. None of this shit's hitting the marks. It's, while this tastes good, the structure's so bad or the yield is so shitty that there's no way I'm going to run this ever again, like commercially. So I don't know, man. Maybe others would disagree, but while genetics have gotten better, the ability to find keepers has gotten way fucking harder, I feel like.
So let's back up a little bit. Obviously, you've been doing some shit right for a long time. I mean, when you have to like worry about your reputation for growing fire, you've done some shit right. You know what I mean? You want so what were you growing in? What was your grow like at that point? You want to let
I
us in a little bit on how what that was like back then?
Sure, yeah, I've grown every which way, but I grow now the same way that I was taught the very first time I ever grew. And the people that mentored me taught me a very simple fucking recipe. I don't even have any secrets. I'll tell this whole show exactly how I grow my weed at home in my commercial facility and how I was taught. And you'll probably laugh and think that I'm lying, but this is literally all I do. I love soil, but it's not soil, it's soilless because I'm using Sunshine 4 was the go-to back in the day, but we since have switched that up to Pro Mix. I prefer Pro Mix now. But then I cut it with 20% earthworm castings, and that's my soil base. By cutting it with earthworm castings, it then creates a soil and becomes a soil at that point. Because if you didn't understand MPK 000 on just Pro Mix, but as soon as you add the earthworm casting, becomes a soil at this point. So I have 20% earthworm castings, and I grow in uh, like 1 gallon pots to start, veg for 2 weeks. Then I flip them to 5 gallon buckets. I do 5 gallon buckets for 2 more weeks. So I try to get a good 1 month veg on them. And then I flip them into flour in 5 gallon buckets. I use nothing but age old. If you don't know what it is, age old organics. It's an old secret here in Denver, Colorado, or in Boulder, Colorado. It was an old hippies that created a nutrient line in Boulder. All of us old heads up in the Boulder Canyon, Boulder Valley Canyon, or Netherland Canyon. We all used this shit back in the day. And age old, it's cheap as shit. It's like $15 for a liter, whatever the fuck. And use I think 1.5 teaspoons per gallon, which is like 15 milliliters or some shit. It's simple. It's one part grow, one part bloom, and that's it. And you use the I never go over 1100 ppms. I never go over 1100. So I keep it organic as I fucking possibly can, and I never stress my plants out because I'm not a fan of uh, MPK boosters or whatever, any of these hardeners, plant hardeners, or I don't like salt nutrients, any of that other stuff. But to finish my equation, I put them into flour and then I switch to the age old bloom. And then I use the bloom, increasing the ppm from 800 to peak it out at 1100 and then back it down, flush it out. We'll use a little bit of guano sometimes for teas if I'm using more at my home grows. But I literally do nothing but that. And if you haven't been around Denver, Colorado, I invite you to try our weed. It tastes fucking great because we don't stress our plants out. It literally I mean, yeah, I go Pepsi challenge with anybody on the Skittles, on the Bruce Banner, on the Purple Starburst, on I don't know, the kitchen sink. Some of the shit that we put out there is just like it tastes good because you let the plants shine through. You don't. Everyone today wants to get as much as they can, like yield. But that's not what it's about to me. It's just about flavor. If you can get flavor, then you charge a premium for it, and it's better. And I run a small grow, 100 lights in the face of 1,000 light facilities all around me. So we just do small batch cannabis, 20 pounds a room, 15 to 20 pounds a room, 3 or 4 strains, sell it in pre-packed glass jars and at a premium. And that's sort of our thing. But I guess to circle back to answer your question, how I grew it then was HPS bulbs, magnetic ballast, and yeah, we use a trellis every single time. A lot of people, I feel like, don't understand what a scrog really is. A scrog is not a trellis that even a double trellis, like you should never need to really double trellis, because the idea of a scrog is a screen of green. Like you need to weave your plants through the net over and over. If any part of your plant sticks up more than 4 or 5 inches, it needs to be pushed down and weaved under the screen. And if you do this, folks, and you trim everything underneath and everything that pokes up, you weave back down, you create a totally even canopy, you're going to yield way more. And yeah, I love screens. Also, I mean, you can use the trellis if you just want to put the trellis and let shit go through it. So you have to bamboo everything, and then a double trellis so it doesn't fall over. I get that. That's more of a commercial facility thing. But everybody who's never actually tried a screen of green, try a screen of green at home. You could do it on one plant and just weave the shit over, but you'll yield more. And 1,000 watt lights, age old grow, sunshine 4 or Pro Mix, earthworm castings, maybe a little guano. But the key is organics and never going over 1,100 parts per million, never stressing the plants out. If you're a pro, like, and you know your shit, yes, you can individually feed your plants a little bit more and try to read them. But I don't like to overfeed and look for burnt tips. You've already burnt the tips. It's like, what the fuck is the point of that? Just, you can learn a plant over time, but at the same time, if you just keep it low and avoid week 5, 6 bud hardeners and blasters and all that other shit, your weed's going to taste way better, taste like it should. But yeah, that's how I grow weed. That's how I grow weed in a warehouse commercially. It's in the SOP, like 5 steps.
So I kind of wonder that too. We've asked that around the community, if strains that are bred in a certain way, say organics environment. I don't know if that's how your mothers and fathers are kept in like an organics medium.
Mm-hmm.
So if, like, say your strains bred out, seeds are produced all in organics, and then the next phase, salts guy, cocoa salt guy gets it, and I can't help but wonder if that's the Hermie there, the next gen, kind of taking it out of its comfort zone the
Sure.
first feed out.
I can follow your logic at the same time, but yeah, I mean, environments are everything, right? The way people grow weed is everything, and a lot of guys use salts, and a lot of guys use high ppms, and a lot of guys, you know, I've said this before, but the funniest thing some guy told me back in the day was our closets are the same size as your closets, and it's true in the sense that everyone's got a closet, but the condition inside the closet is everything. Like your humidity is not going to be the same, your ppms are not going to be the same that you're feeding, everything changes. So it's really hard to recreate what I'm doing, even as I'm breeding it. The genetics may be there, but as I'm sure many people know, like, pass your clone to somebody, let him grow it, you grow it at the same time, come back and check it. They're going to be totally different. We have a contest here in Colorado, I think it's made its way around, called the Grow Off, where we pass everybody the same cut, not us specifically, but the contest passes everybody the same clone, and they don't know what it is. It's a mystery clone, and they say, all right, 50 shops, I'll grow it, and we're going to have a contest, and we're going to test it. And it's all, that one's all done based on testing as the winner as opposed to consumption. But if you see the poster of the strain that they submitted, the poster doesn't look like the same weed, and it's 50 different pictures of weed, and none of them look the same. And that should tell you something, that it's it's all about your environments, and almost no two grows have the exact same environment. It's just really hard to do.
So as creator of Bruce Banner #3, What would you be looking like if you were running the strain as far as when to pull it? You know, a lot of that people that's a weird subject for people. You know, clear to cloudy, that cloudy, a little bit to amber. I myself like to see things a little bit more on the amber side. Hit that swell. That's my natural hardener right there. Why when I want to add something to the plant to harden it when I know the swell's coming later
Right.
on. You
Yeah, I
know,
like the
it's
amber too. I like my shit couch locky. I think it's a personal preference. Um, for people, a little bit cloudy if you want to be a little bit if you like a little bit more uppity, but I like my shit like sink me in the couch, like as narcotic as I can get it. But I would also say, as far as Bruce Banner specifically, go 10 weeks. So many people are like, cut it at 8 weeks. It totally looks done at 8 weeks, but it's not done at 8 weeks. You have to go 10 weeks. Otherwise, you're not going to get the right terp profile. If you see Bruce Banner that looks and tastes and smells like hay and it's hay weed or whatever, that's 8 week Bruce Banner. You literally have to go 10 weeks. But also check your trikes. And I prefer a little bit of amber, but again, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer there. It's all about body chemistry, personal choice, and grow it 2, 3, 4 times or 2, 3, 4 plants and cut them at different intervals. Label your jars and see how your body chemistry reacts to each different harvest chop.
vibes. Mike Denver in chat says, ask him about the dirty hippie string cheese incident stories.
Yeah, so Mike, shout out Mike Denver. Yeah, I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit before, but I I'm from Colorado. All I wanted to do after graduating high school was play video games and smoke pot and listen to music. And I grew up listening to String Cheese Incident and jam band type of stuff. So at one point, I went on the road as like a roadie, if you will, or whatever, and traveled on tour and sold grilled cheeses and bottled waters and all that shit, and went road to road and or town to town. And yeah, that was sort of the start of also like seeing lots of different cannabis in different places, among many other drugs. But it was like, yeah, okay, like Tennessee's got this kind of weed, Cali's got this kind of weed. We knew if we went to San Fran, we were getting fired, but we knew if we're in Albuquerque, it was going to be tricky. But then again, our closets are the same size as your closets. So I remember walking into people sometimes in the parking lot in the middle of fucking Kansas City, and you'd be like, holy shit, you have the fire sour or OG or wherever it may be. And it's like, what? Like, how do you have this here? You're from here? Like, so it doesn't necessarily matter where. But yeah, anyway, I used to be a Wook, but I never really had dreads or did any of that shit. I just enjoyed the music, went on the road. But I do have this recollection of getting super high one time and being at a show and looking around and being like, I've done this for like 2 or 3 years. I've traveled around. I don't want to be like a hippie burnout. I'm going to college. So that's why I was a non-traditional freshman. And I went to college and decided to do it all, I was like, live on my own, and had a dog and had to grow and paid my own way through school entirely with, by myself, and sat in the front row because I paid for it with cash that I earned. So I was just like, all right, like I'm here to learn. I'm here to do something with this. But yeah, rambling there. String cheese.
Sounds like a pretty good time, good experience in life right there.
I would recommend any youngster
Oh,
to go on the road with some band for a while. It's fun.
yeah, good life experience. I agree. I agree. Oh, Modern Genetics is in chat. It said he's running a Bruce Banner with lemon terps. He wants to know, is that a true uh, Bruce Banner terp?
Yeah, we've seen it pop out within the genetics. So not initially on like the first cross that I created, where I made the original Bruce Banner from like way back in '07, I believe, or whatever I said. Um, but no, on the original Bruce Banner seed crosses that we've seen, I have seen a few lemon terps myself come out when I do large pheno runs of it. So I'm not 1,000% sure where that lemon started creeping out from, but it's not really present in the Bruce Banner 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. It's not present in the first batch of original, or I'm sorry, the original creation of Bruce Banner. but it is present in the original Bruce Banner seed. So yeah, within the depths of there, there's some recessive lemon traits.
Mike Depper in chat would like to know, have you ever created anything that you feel is as good as the Bruce Banner #3? And I agree with that. Just because the masses, you know, he said it, you one hit wonder. You compared yourself to that, but I think that's a bullshit comparison. To be honest with you,
Well,
that's just
it's hard to beat. That's the thing.
perspective.
It's hard to beat. It's like I feel how I can imagine a one hit wonder may feel when the strain gets that big, that quick, and goes like that crazy. It's hard to have anything overshine it ever, like again. And the way the world is now too, the way High Times is, and how High Times has changed their model, and everything got social media and Instagram and all. Like this was all before there was a million channels, a million podcasts, a million shows, a million feeds to look on Instagram where you get all this crazy information. This was before Facebook. It was just like plow, here's the magazine the whole weed world looks at. So it was like in your fucking face, big strain. Whereas now I don't know that you can really recreate those like media moments where it's like if you put a strain in there on the cover or a centerfold or it just got beautiful photo even in High Times, it could trigger everything for you and jumpstart everything. So and I don't know that that can happen anymore. I'll just say that High Times won't ever return to glory, but it's a shell of what it once was, and now they're just a chain of dispensaries in California that run weird cups, and they don't really do the events anymore. And I'm not sure, but to answer your question, have I made anything that I think is better? It's hard to say because it's like, they're all your children, although I have like, I don't know, 50 or 60 crosses I've released at this point. So it's hard to be like, oh, that one's better than this one. But really, yes, some are better than others. And I would say right now, I'm really into the slobber knocker. I just did like another 60 pheno run of it just to make the F2s. And as I was going through it, I found three distinct phenos. I found a really purple pheno. I found a red pheno, and then there was also just a deep green pheno. But it was like totally identifiable. It was like, oh, okay, there's purple, red, green. And it was like an idiot could fucking figure out what to do from here. I was just like, all right, the purple ones were phenomenal. They taste purple. And what slobber knocker is, everybody's Skittles to purple starburst to Thanos. What Thanos is Skittles to bitch slap. So really, if you want to get technical, the family tree Skittles, purple starburst, Skittles to bitch slap, which is kosher OZ, to OZ. So there's Skittles in it about 6 fucking times, to kosher, to the OZ, to Kush, which is more OG, which is more kosher. I'm sorry. So it's a bunch of kosher and a bunch of Skittles hit to each other with some purple in there. With the purple starburst comes out, and it's just like, or it adds something to it that's like, okay, here's the purple terps on top of the Skittles and some of the OG back in. But to my point, I love that weed. I think that weed is phenomenal. And I have this weird feeling that as I cultivate this strain out further, I release it to F3 because the F1s was a very limited release, maybe 100 packs. The F2, I'm just going to keep for myself. The F3 will release after this. But I'm like, all right, this, I'll even release some of the best cuts that I find because I know how the world works now. And it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if Slobber Knocker isn't a super kick-ass strain 4 years from now. That's how long it fucking takes for these to trickle out around to all these different spots, for people to find the phenos amongst the seeds. And then in about 4 years from now, you're going to see batches of hash and I don't know, fucking cuts and flour, and Slobber Knocker, I think will be big in 4 years, but it's like, maybe not even 4, maybe 2 to 3, but it's certainly going to take time. And I could be wrong because maybe I love it. This has happened before. I was like, I love this shit. And I put it out and I'm like, don't you love this world? And they're like, no, dude, like, we don't like it the way you like it. So I was like, all right, I'll smoke it. I still like it. But so, yeah, that's why it's sort of like music. Not every song you make, even though if you dig it, like they're going to like it. So I'll relate it to that. But Slobber Knocker, to answer your question, I think that one's going to be a banger.
I can relate to a couple of things you said there. First and foremost, I believe you're right on the 4 year mark there. Well, I don't even think that's right, to be honest with you. I think it's a little bit you know, longer than that because you've got to put in the work first. You know what I mean? You've got
Right.
your time plus the 4 years, you know, and that's one of the things I bet when you hear people, I don't bitch, when I hear people bitch about a pack of seeds or, you know, amount for a cut or the pack of seeds, it's like, man, you don't realize what's into a proper word strain before it's the, oh, I gotta have it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
People's tested it. You've worked it forever. You put your heart and soul past it to other people. Oh man, there's a lot of work into that initial fucking getting it out there where everybody loves that shit.
I
And
mean,
then on top of that, I will go ahead and I'll
I
just
say
ask
I
you.
would say I
So,
preach this all the time, but this is why the state of cannabis seeds suck right now. Like because there is no incentive for breeders to take things to F4 to do the long work and stabilize it out because it takes a couple of years. And by the time I get it done, that strain isn't even hot anymore. Or whatever I use to make it isn't even the hot shit anymore because it's already fucking old news. And you're not willing to pay like $300-400 for the pack because of all the work that went in through it. You know what I mean? Or $500 for this pack because this is F4 and stable, or F8 and stable, or F7 or whatever. And it's really locked in, and we know someone's done a lot of the long work. Some people out there will be like, yeah, I'll pay a premium for that. I understand what you guys are doing. But the average customer, you got to think about the average dipshit on Instagram that's scrolling through and he's like, oh, I'm buying seeds today. I want to buy this. Oh, this looks purple and good. It's like he doesn't know shit. You know what I mean? And he's going to look at a pack of seeds and go, oh, this one over here is $40. And it's some F1 to F1 crap or whatever that some dude puts out. Or there's like, oh, this one over here is 600, but it says F8 next to it or whatever. It's just like, we'd go out of business if that was the way that I wish that was the way the seed world worked, but we'd go out of business if that's the way it was. And it's crazy because that's the way the seed world was back in like the late 80s, early 90s. And then it just fell apart into like fakeries and now into F1 madness because if a clone becomes hot, if we don't race to reverse it and put it out, then like you're going to miss the window on making any money. It's like no one wants to use the shit that was hot 3 years ago and be like, oh, I just came to market with this dude. They're like, you're late to the game, bro. These other guys over here have already created a fucking market hype fucking clone only and then put it out, reversed it, sold the packs, and it's all junk, as in like you F1 crapped it or you fucking reversed, plop some shit out and put it out. And it's like, yeah. And everyone bit into that bullshit. And that's where we've been for like 2 or 3, 4 years, where people just like cat chasing their tail. It's like we're not really breeding anything cool, new, and dope. Some guys still do it, but the value behind it isn't there. So it's integrity and ethics, I guess, to try to do your best to release the best quality shit that you can, or just selectively choose the guys that are doing the long work. But no, it's like hype beast world. You got to fucking keep releasing a new collab with Supreme style, where it's like just fucking slap this logo on it, slap that logo on it, repackage it, rebrand it, whatever it may be. But let's get it out. And oh, by the way, breeders used to release, I don't know, Serious Seeds has what, 12 fucking strains for 30 years. Cincy Seeds had fucking 10 for, I don't know, 20 fucking years. And it's like then you get into 2000s and all the breeders of fly by night Instagram breeders and shit. I'm not talking shit on anyone directly, but just fly by night Instagram breeders and whatnot. It's like you got fucking a strain dropping every 3 weeks, bro. And if it's every 3 weeks and you're, even Dark Horse, just stay relevant to continue to do it. I put out over 60 fucking strains to this time. When I started, I thought I would be 60 strains for my career. But if I don't continue to put out new shit and push the envelope on some stuff, then we'll just get washed away. So the game has changed. The game has changed.
man, I agree with everything you said. And sadly, I know it sounds kind of suck ass, but it's true though. I've said that for a long, long period of time. That I want to, what I want to see is more what you said it used to be like, in your opinion, is when I buy a pack, I want to know where it's at in the breeding phase. I want to know if it's an F1, 2, F3, F4, F5, F6. Well, I want to know. I want to know where my money is so I can plan on what I'm going to get. You know, you're right. There is hype's going to kill everything I hate hype times hype times hype. It's sad, like you said, it used to be quality breeders. I'm proud about this strain. I've worked it out many a years, but now people, it's a too big of a money thing for a lot of people. They see a quick jump on, and it's sad. It's really sad. Right now is the time, in my opinion, with science catching up, even though I don't agree with the phylos aspect of it all, but it's a good time to figure out some shit. What's real, what's not real, and then fucking work forward, with that. You know what I mean? Correctly, label it chronicling everything correctly. Excuse me about that.
No, I got you.
As we go along, and
I've thought about this for a while, actually, man. And it needs to be, in my opinion, it needs to be a form of AKC. Many will probably say in the dog world, the AKC, like I'm talking about dogs, but the American Kennel Club, the AKC world, probably the dog people will probably say that's a fucked up, corrupt organization. I really don't know, but I can only imagine. But it's something along where it's like purebred. It has papers. It has the lineage and it's traced. If you'd like to breed with this and you want to buy it from me and you want to breed with it, I have 2 sets of papers. It's like, okay, it's 2,000 a pack if you intend to breed, and it comes with full certification of papers with lineage, or it's $100 for home use or whatever the fuck it may be, and you don't get the papers. You can still breed with it, but it's not going to be purebred down the line, where you can follow the track, the papers and everything. And it needs to be set up in a sense where, I guess somehow, just like they do dogs, where you create classes, families, you show all the breeds that you can, and every year you introduce new breeds into the AKC, if you will. I don't know. I don't know enough about it, but it seems to me we almost need to figure out how the dog world works and sort of mimic what they're doing. That way we can paper up strains and you can say, I have a purebred Bruce Banner strain here. Here's the paperwork, kind of thing.
I completely agree with that too. I've said that for a long time as well. I've had a cut that I had what thought was special to me when the 9 pound. I got testers from sub of the 9 pound hammer before it was released. There was genetic change after it was released, and I had a pheno that I thought was good, special at least to me. And I asked whoever I gave it to not to pass it along to anybody, like you would. And if you did, please ask me first.
Right.
And, almost like pay, and in my opinion, that's the way it should be. So there's some kind of trace back, the person that started with could be like, oh yeah, who'd you get it from? Uh-huh. Yeah. I don't think so.
You got to paper that.
I don't think so. Yeah.
It loses its value if it's not papered all of a sudden, you know what I mean? But I don't know. I would hate to see it go the other way where people were like, let's put markers in plants. Because I don't want to see that, because that leads to patents and I own this and I own that. And it's like, no, you don't need to own it. Nobody owns the St. Bernard breed line. It's just the breed line. You know what I mean? You have papers saying your St. Bernard is real, but you don't own all St. Bernards. You know what I mean? So I'm just sort of like, if you start putting trackers or DNA genetic markers and shit and stuff, that way you can see bred out down the line. Like, oh, it looks like here you have 1/10 Bruce Banner in your cross, and you owe me fucking, I don't know, royalties for 1/10 of every seed you've ever sold. By the way, here's my lawsuit. It's like, man, fuck all that noise. It's like, but can we have it in a sense where it's like, yeah, I don't know. Again, back to the dog thing. I just think that markers is a horrible thing because it leads to like ownership of strains, whereas AKC is like, no, it's a class of a dog or it's a breed of dog, and your dog is authentic, but you don't own the entire breed of dog.
I don't know if royalty like thing would be correct. I think,
I think that was
a
Philos'
tip of the hat.
thing.
You know what I mean? I used your gear to create this type of strain. Yeah,
right. But it'll be abused. Well, I might
it.
say, sure, bro, go ahead. Tip of the hat. Appreciate it. I see it's in there. Great. Even, put a little thing on the pack. Dark Horse. Love you. But somebody else would be like, motherfucker, I want money. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's going to get more cutthroat down the line. Whereas Yeah, it'll get more cutthroat, then it'll get more friendly. I tell you that moving forward.
Well, one of the other things, and like I said, I'm still a little leery of like the general bank of genetics and like the markers, like you say. But I am excited about the point where we are with like tissue culture. Uh, Say we figure out what the fuck we got. You know what I mean? And like breeders like yourself are able to tissue culture some of your mom and pop. So like if you ever have to recreate, you've got the exact same stock. You can move forward with other things you find and not necessarily have to house mom and pop. You could always tissue culture it back, but not have to do like a pheno hunt. Yeah, I mean, and because as you know, I mean, even with the second recreation of Bruce Banner there, even though you've got close genetics there, unless you've really popped and fished, found a brother out of that very same first pack, it's hard to accurately recreate a strain from, popping packs. Even you as a breeder, I would think, would still have some trouble recreating, going,
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I looked for in dad, and that was close to mom. You know what I mean?
right.
But
No,
if
you're
you could
exactly right.
tissue culture now and bring them back, you could
Well,
bring back kick ass same seeds forever, couldn't you?
oh
Or do
yeah,
they,
in theory,
or that's
yes.
another question I have for you is how much is like in humans, every time mom and dad make a child, that batch is different. Do you see that in seeds?
In
To where, like,
F1,
say you make one huge batch of seeds and you release them, and then you use the exact same mother and father again, impregnate her. Will that next batch of seeds, even though they're not will there be a variation there in your
it won't
opinion?
be like identical, like batch, like the seeds won't be identical. If it was like 300 seeds and you popped all 300 and then charted every identical or all the traits in all 300, then you recreate the cross and did it again, you would have 300 seeds, but they wouldn't be identical in everything that you just did. But essentially what you're saying is like on the F1, yeah, you get to see a hybrid mix of it all. On the F2, you see 25% mother, 25% father, 50% hybrid. F3, 75, 25. F4, you're supposed to be all big X, little x, or whatever, stabilize it out where your dominant or your recessive is completely stable across the line in theory. But no, yeah, if I follow you, I think, yeah, if you recreate it from the F1 stock, it's essentially be like your mother and father just having more children over and over again and over and over again and over and over again and over and over again. You know what I mean? So you have all brothers and sisters, but you wouldn't have an identical brother or all, the next batch of 10 kids wouldn't be identical to your first brothers and sisters of 10 kids. Identical in genetics, possibly, but not identical in, like appearance and all that. Like their carriers will be the same.
Right. Thank you for clearing that up, because that would have been my opinion, that they would have been super similar.
But
But
to your point about tissue culture, just real quick, I do think that you're exactly right. Like tissue culture is kind of the future as far as even genetic breeding, because they'll essentially be able to splice genetics without doing pollinations through tissue cultures and in labs, and genetics and CRISPRs and other kind of things. So pollination will probably be a thing of the past within 10 to 20 years, if not even that long, and it'll become some sort of micro propagation techniques that take over as far as genetics. But I will say this much: it makes me sound like a bit of a dipshit. Not so much me, but yeah, I think it just goes to show how hard tissue culture is. I don't want to say anyone's name, but we hired two different guys. I had a lab in my grow, and we converted it to tissue culture, and we got the hood and all the sterile stuff and everything clean, the steam cleaning equipment, everything that we could to make this the most sterile, clean room possible. It was a clean room. And we hired a guy fresh out of college to come in and run the tissue culture lab. And he has successfully done tissue cultures for years in his college university setting and knew what the fuck he was doing and talking about. And as soon as we brought him in and told him to start tissue culture in cannabis, the dude was having a million problems. He was having problems with mold growing in the substrate or whatever it's called. And he was having just he was trying every technique he'd possibly learned in school and all the rest. And I was just like, yeah, you're struggling. So I don't want to. I mean, while the science is there and someone can absolutely do it, we also got a second guy that did it, and for other reasons, I should say, more again technique, he struggled to get any tissue culture to work at all. So I watched two guys kind of struggle, and I was just like, man, this is not. I'm not an expert. I already know I'm not an expert. So I hired some and watched them, and I watched them fail, and I was like, holy shit! Like this is not a walk in the park yet, and it's not something that you can just easily do. Oh, I have a big dirty grow behind me. I have a lab over there, and you got to walk through this door, and you come in, and here's a sealed off area, and this is a tissue culture room. It's like, no, I think you got to do this stuff in some serious laboratory environments, incredibly clean, everything else, and yeah, it's tricky, and it's going to be the future, but it's also just hard. Let me just leave it there. It's fucking hard.
So how'd you come up with the name Dark Horse? I'm curious on that.
It's kind of a long story, but I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. So that first dispensary that I mentioned in Colorado that I started, that was called Delta 9. That's also why, if anybody that's confused about Delta 9 and Bruce Banner, there's a Delta 9 Seeds, which is in Amsterdam. It's Ed Borg. He's actually a friend of mine, and he's always really cool and directs people back to the Dark Horse. But people think Delta 9 made Bruce Banner, but Delta 9 was actually the name of the shop that I had when I released Bruce Banner. But regardless, Delta 9 was my first dispensary in 2011. They made us do shotgun marriages in Colorado, where they passed HB 1284, which was his aim was to get rid of 70% of the dispensaries. We were totally unlicensed. Everyone was running wild doing that bodega style / consignment model, Pawn Stars model. Like there was shops, there was 800 shops. There's more shops than Starbucks in Denver. So the government people were like, well, fuck this. We got to shut 70% of these down. So their thing was you had to become vertically integrated. You had to marry your dispensary to a grow. And my whole thing at that time was like, I'm not going to do a warehouse. Weed grows better in basements. Warehouse weed always sucks. So I'd rather have 5 to 10 grow houses across this city and blow up the basements, and I'll get the weed from there for my dispensaries. All my lawyers were telling me, like, you can't fucking do that. That's not ever going to be legal when things come around to being regulated. But I was like, I don't care. This is how I run my shit. I'm 23 and I think I know everything, and I don't know shit. But I did that, and in July of 2011, they came and they said, okay, you have to be vertically integrated now, and you have to be in a warehouse, no more home grows, none of that shit. And I was like, okay, well, my plan totally backfired. Didn't listen to the lawyers. So they gave us, I think it was 60 days to figure out what we're going to do. So all the grows in the city and all the dispensaries in the city had to partner up, because everyone was individual. It was like, how do we tie everything together? So it was all about trying to be the prettiest girl at the ball and show, like, we were a really good shop. So everybody came through like, we want you to be our shop, and we'll be the grow, and we'll partner. We'll grow your strains. And anyway, I picked a fucking complete scumbag asshole who came in, and he's like, here's the deal, Jay. He's like, I don't want you to have to worry about money at all ever again. He's like, I'm going to build you your Taj Mahal of grows, whatever you want me to build, I'll build it for you. And he's like, you're going to get 33% of 3 stores. And if like, you just sign over control of your store, go down to 33% of this store. He's like, and I'll give you 33% of the other 3 stores, and then you'll have your grow. We'll run the store. And I was like, all right, I found my partner, right? Like my suitor, I figured it out. Well, like 3 weeks later, he like had ripped up the contract that my 23-year-old dipshit ass had signed, unnotarized, said it didn't exist, changed the locks on the place, said that, like I made he convinced the landlord to sign a new lease illegally somehow in his name, said that I like was out of the business or something. And anyway, he basically totally screwed me. And like, I went away, and I was pissed and fucking, like, I think I was in Hawaii. I quit the business altogether because I was like, man, these people are all fucking scumbags. And I literally had a store that was doing millions of dollars, and I was going to convert it into something. And I thought that I was set for life, only to find out a few weeks later that I was locked out, genetics stolen. I didn't have any of it. None of it was true, essentially. And yeah, I was sitting on the beach in Hawaii, pissed off, I remember. So I fired off an email to one of the investors of the group of this guy. And he seemed like a nice guy. So when I fired him an email, I was just like, "Did you know that that guy locked me out of my warehouse, stole everything, didn't ripped up my contracts, that I didn't exist? Now I have a lawyer and I had to sue him in civil court to, civil suit to basically try to get the store back, and everything's all fucked up." And he's like, "I didn't know that," but he's like, "We're actually doing a class action lawsuit against that scumbag too." He's like, "And all these people have been ripped off millions of dollars from that guy." And he had a whole list of people that he'd scammed across the country. And I was like, "What the fuck?" So yeah, I was like, "I don't want to be in your guys' lawsuit because I'm doing my own." But yeah, this guy's a piece of shit. And that guy took me to dinner, and he's like, Jay, he's like, I don't know what's going on with all these fucking people. He's like, but I don't trust him at all. He's like, but I trust you. And he's like, "I need a horse in this race. I really need a horse in this race." And I was like, "Dude, I don't want to be in weed. I'm fucking done with this shit. All these dudes are scumbags and liars and crooks, and it's con man. And I literally don't want to fucking do this shit anymore." And turned him down like 3 or 4 times. And then eventually kept calling me, and he kind of was giving me the whole blank checkbook thing, like, "Whatever you need to do, you could build it, whatever you want." And I remember I went to the Cannabis Cup somewhere, and I saw them selling seeds, and I saw them doing a booth, and I was like, "You know what? You get the grass is always greener on the other side. I'll tell you that right now." Because when I was out, I was looking at the other side, being like, "Man, I need to be in weed. Look at all these people making $1 billion in sales in Colorado." I was like, "I got to get over there." And then when you're in weed, you're like, "Dude, I wish I could just grow weed in my basement and play video games all day. It was so fucking easy. Like, every life was way better. So there's no taxes and all the other bullshit I got to go through, and hoops and regulations." So I don't know. When I was out, I was looking like I needed to get back in, but I saw the booth, the seed company, all that stuff, and I was just like, I am the Bruce Banner guy. I was like, I'm probably gonna, I want to release the seed of this Bruce Banner, put it out. I'd like to work on like releasing some of my selected phenos and put it out. So I was like, I'd like to become a breeder and do it. But if I'm going to do it, I'd like to do it in metric in Colorado and do it in a warehouse and build it all legal, because I know what's legal now. And the guy called me up, and then he's like, "I still need that horse in this race." And I was like, "Well, we're calling it Dark Horse Genetics." And I was like, "I'm your horse, and you're going to fund me, and this is what I need. You build this warehouse, and I'm going to put in 4 breeding rooms, and we're going to make our shit, and I'm going to sell the seeds, and we're going to do our thing." And I don't know. Yeah, my investor found me by not being a piece of shit, by being one of the only ethical people in a sea of fucking dog shit. And sometimes it's, you don't have to beg for the money. They just come to you because you're honest, I guess, in a sea of fucking crap. But yeah, long story. But Dark Horse is named after my investor really needing a fucking horse in this race, apparently. And he picked me. He horsed up me.
Great story, brother. It's shitty that it happened to you, but it's a great story that you pushed through, and I'm glad you pushed through, man. Fucking people can fucking be fucking frustrating sometimes, and something like that could really, really fucking make you not want to deal with people. So I'm glad you were stayed somewhat optimistic and pushed on.
Yeah, and so
I
am
had
I.
to ask. I had to ask. There's
No, no,
well,
yeah,
the
no
dark
worries.
horse things, puts out a mystique like thing anyway. There's always that mystique around the dark horse.
I mean, I would say
So
this too. All the strain names I have up until recently, because I mean, gotten quite a bit of them, but I would say all the strain names I have all have a secret meaning. So everything I ever did, everything I ever named, it was a pun on something. It was a secret meaning. It was a dig at somebody or someone, or it was an inside joke about something. Almost every strain I have is an inside joke, including a lot of them to this day. A few of them I just name because I like them, but almost all of them have something to do. And I will not disclose most of why or what they are or who or what they're about. But yeah, they all mean something to me.
that's funny. Well, I guess it would be back up to Ned Devers' question there. He's wanting to know the difference between Hulkamania and Savage Hulk.
It's Banner 3 and Banner 5. Um, the the Hulkamania is Banner 3, and the Savage is Banner 5. I think personally, the Savage turned out a little bit better on that cross. I spoke earlier in the show about Romeo and Juliet from the guy JLP, and how he did the same cross 2 ways, kind of. That was sort of a nod to him when I was like, I wonder what one will be better. I was like, if we do, the Banner 3 or the Banner 5. Um, and yeah, that cross in particular, it's my 3 favorite strains. Dosey, Banner, Skittles. And again, the banner was or I'm sorry, the banners were the female on that side. So I had the banner 3 and the banner 5. And then we hit, I think it was, I'm going to fuck this up too. Not in-house, but it was in-house, but he did a Dosey Skittles. Fuck, I'm fucking it up. But somebody did the Dosey Skittles. And damn, it's going to come to me in a second. Regardless, but I used that mail. I found a really pretty decent mail out of there, but it was a shortcut cheat sheet because like I like to use my own mails and generally most of the crosses that I make, or I try to in the future here. But I saw that and I was just like, dude, Skittles, Dosey, and good phenos, a couple of different males, good clusters in the males. I was like, I'm hitting this to the banner. I had hit this to the banner. I guarantee you this is going to be good, and I did. And like I said, the Savage, I think, is phenomenal. There's like these Skittles phenos that come out of it. It yields way better, clones way easier than Skittles. And yeah, there's also like a little bit of Dosey phenos that come out. The banners I would call recessive on the Savage, but on the Hulkamania, the banner kind of dominates. The banner 3 dominates. The OG takes over more. So there's not as many Skittles phenos on that, but it yields way better, way chunkier. Both resin monsters and both make pretty good hash, but those were limited releases, that's for sure. Like we didn't release that in large quantity.
Mr. Chad Westport in chat would like to know, where did you get the genetics to start back up?
Where did I get genetics to start it up? Sorry, one more time.
He's asking, where did you get genetics to start back up? I'm guessing after being locked out.
Oh, as far as the warehouse and all that other stuff. Yeah, at that time, again, I wasn't a breeder at that time. So my the deal that we had on that was I went into a warehouse that was already there. It was supposed to be retrofitted into something else. So I had brought in what was hot in that time, like some Wi-Fi OG, fuck, maybe he's an OG. But yeah, I had all the stuff at my house also. So I shouldn't say lost all my genetics, just being locked out of my genetics, but at that place, yeah, I wouldn't consider anything I had there like stupid fire. Well, I did have my OG and my Juliet and all the other stuff, but those guys had no idea what they had, and those plants were never made it beyond that anyway. But as far as those plants, yeah, I definitely had all my stuff. I've always had my best shit multiple backed up, like multiple backed up from the very beginning. If I find something that I know is good, I give it to a few of my closest friends over the past 20 years. And I'm like, yep, put this in your vault, put this in your mother room, whatever. Even some of my family members, I'm just like, yeah. I actually lost Bruce Banner 3 at one point and had to get it back from a family member in Missouri, of all people. I was just like, dude, my cut is not there. I need to come get it from you. I gave it to you directly like 6 years ago. I'm coming to your doorstep in 3 days. Need my cut.
Hell yeah. Captain 420 would like me to ask you if you let Banner go in Michigan in like 2014, 2015 for a test.
For a test, I don't specifically remember like going to Banner or Michigan to like sell clones or anything, but I almost guarantee you in 14, well, it would have to be in the inner circle for the cut to get out at that time, but it's possible. Certainly is possible. But yeah, 14, that was when it was held pretty tight, honestly. It could have been right when it was first starting to get released and made its way around. But no, I never personally like showed up in Michigan, like at a cannabis cup or something. It was like clones for sale under my tent or something. Like I've never pulled that move in Michigan. So any cuts there just made their way there. And I can't really tell you exactly how or why or who.
So I hear that you do like to pick your own males. How important do you feel that the male is to the breeding project, and what are you looking for in your
When I say I like to make my own males, I just think it avoids controversy. Like if you just buy a pack of somebody and then grab their male and hit it to every clone on the market, it's lazy. It's like you didn't really do anything. So I think developing a strain, I mean, you have to start there. I'm not saying you can't do that, but to sell that pack and then just continue, that's your business model, is to buy, seeds and then grab a male out of something and then hit it to every hot clone only that you can find and put all those seeds out. It's not really breeding as much as it is just sort of putting shit out nonstop or whatever. But if you can then skip that step, or you do that step and skip selling it and then go through those seeds and you find some unique male. So it's so and so's dude shit to this dude shit, but it's a male of that, and those seeds never were on market anywhere. It's like, look, I created this male. I'm a step removed from just using everyone's shit. I think it's a little safer in the world of, I don't know, getting, especially if you're starting, if you're trying to enter the marketplace, like, yeah, don't enter the marketplace with a bunch of other people's genetics as your males. Enter with your own males. But as far as selecting your males, that's everything to me. I think breeding is, I mean, we all know what the female side is. We all know what the clone onlys are. We all know they're good for the most part. We know if they wash. We know if they herm. We know exactly what's up on the female side. So it's pretty fucking easy to just, have one side of the cross dialed into what you're looking for. The male side is everything because you need really good, flower formations. You need good structure. You need a good stem rub, but it is a thing. So you're trying to get any kind of fucking smell off of it that you can, which is more about structure and internode spacing. You don't want males that go, all males want to be taller than the canopy. So they generally shoot up tall, right? Like that's the thing in males. They want to be above the females to drop the pollen on top of them. But you don't want males that just shoot 6-inch length, internode length or something like that, where you get little clusters every 6 to 12 inches and you get these tall, lengthy plants because it's going to breed through to the females. So you're looking for males that have shorter internode length, that have good cluster flower formations. Males still form the flower. It's just the pollen sacs. So you want those to be tight in little balls and as they go up. Structure, pollen sacs, even a little stem rub. And also with males, you got to work backwards. So you save multiple males and then you do the crosses and then you smoke the weed and you say, oh shit, okay, this male contributed this to the cross. This male contributed that to the cross. Then you go backwards and you use which male after you decide what the fuck. The only way to do it is to do the work and then go backwards. A lot of people don't understand that, but it's like, if I have 3 males or 2 males, I'm going to cross this to the same clone only with 3 different males. And I'm going to fucking get those seeds, grow those out, look at those and say, okay, I know which male I like better because look at what happened when I did this. You can run the same project 3 different ways, if that makes sense to people.
Oh, it makes perfect sense to me. So, with that being said, how much is there a secret sweet spot on producing like uh, uh, higher fem seed? Not, I shouldn't say that's a wrong way to say that. A better a seed population with more chances at fem or females. You know what I mean? Is there a
Yeah,
secret? Does environment play into that, or does
it
you
can.
know?
I've read that it can, but to kind of answer your question, no. And like maybe people don't understand this, but almost all bag seed that they get, if you find a seed in your bag at the dispensary, your homie sold you a sack or whatever the fuck it is, it's almost always female. And if it's female, it's almost always herm because herm seeds produce 100% female seeds always. You know what I mean? So um, when you talk about higher chance of female, you talk about using potentially hermaphrodite pollen or intersex pollen kind of thing will always give you the females for sure. Now I'm not talking about reversing using silver and other things, to reverse. I'm just talking about within the pollen that potentially could do that. But as a general question, no, I've read things. I could be speaking out of school here and don't know my science. I've read things where different light cycles will produce more females at seed and seeds don't have a sex until a certain day of flower. So there's a certain time period which the sex is actually determined. So if you increase phosphorus, you can get more seed within the soil or the nutrients, or if you increase heat, I've heard it. But again, I think a lot of this is urban legend type of stuff. And if someone has the data, then I'll eat crow. I could be totally fucking wrong. But no, man, you got to pop the seeds and see what you get. Now, feminized seeds, totally different thing. If you use silver, you perform reversals, then yeah, you're going to get a shit ton of feminized seeds. that's how that works.
I understand all that, but we've been talking about that lately. It's like, just what are the odds? Is there I because we've talked about, like, I've popped seeds where I've gotten 5 out of 5 males. So does that mean that the male carried a heavy male trait? What is it? It carried the heavy Y and just drowned out all possibility during pollination. You know what I mean? All
Yeah, I
these
follow
seeds are
you.
gonna be male. You know what I mean?
To
That's
me,
why I'm asking. Does condition maybe play into that, or is there a
it's
sweet spot?
certainly possible, but to me, I think you're talking about sitting down at the blackjack table, losing 10 hands in a row, going, this can't be. You know what I mean? And it's like, it can be. You can also win 10 in a row. You know what I mean? And it's a course of time. So if you were to pop 500 of those seeds or 1,000 of those seeds, I don't think your ratio would hold true. It's just when you get it down to the micro scale size of a singular pack, I think sometimes you lose that lottery. You know what I mean?
Oh man,
But
I hate
I
to think that was the
again,
case. That's bad luck right there.
but again, dude, I mean, people will probably argue blue in the face, and I don't have the data, and I've never really experimented to do my own controls of variables, and I don't really have the data for it. But yeah, I'm sure environmentals can play with sex a little bit. I know for a fact, fucking what the light can produce herms. We already know that. You know what I mean? So yes, environment can stress can potentially have a factor on sex. But again, I'm speaking out of school on this. I'm this is my theories.
Right. Well, I've got questions, and I've got a great, award-winning breeder in front of me. I can't help but ask a few questions. So how we looking here? We're coming up on the 2 hour mark. You said we could go, 1.5, maybe 2. I
I
just
said,
wanted
yeah,
to kind of
I
touch base with you here.
give you till like roughly midnight my time, or 11:45 ish my time, 15-20 more minutes or whatever. I think I can hang with you. But yeah, I apologize everybody. I don't think I could do the full 4 hours. I just 420 kicked my ass, man. It was 3 or 4 nights in a row, staying up till 5 in the morning packing orders. So it's catching up to me, and I'm starting to feel fucking old. I feel old now.
No,
But yeah, I can
don't
roll with you a
feel
little bit
that, man.
longer.
Good. That I prefer to check in than try to, keep beating the horse for a bad pun.
No, you're good,
Because
man.
I would rather you leave, having a good time on the show and be willing to come back at some point. You know what I mean? Uh, yeah, it just works out to be better with that. I guess with the knowing I've got 15 minutes left, I guess we might as well kind of head right into that. I don't know if you've had a chance to check out the show or what goes on the channel here, but there's a few things that happen here on the show or on this channel, other than being what I would love to get you back on another like one-on-one like this, because I I can tell that you're just full of fucking great information there. But we there's three versions of this show or what goes on this channel. There's the spotlight, fucking talking shit with Eagle. And then if the guest doesn't go completely to the 420 mark, then I pick things up with what I call, it used to be the rabbit hole, but we kind of changed it. Long story into that. But now it's the wormhole. And the wormhole is open to basically all past guests. When this is episode 385, that means there's a possibility of 385, combination of any 385 on any given night, which kind of keeps conversation and things somewhat fresh on a nightly basis. But now that you've done the spotlight episode, that's the way to get to the wormhole. So please,
Got you.
keep that in mind. The Zoom number is always the same. That invitation is always the same. If you see somebody hanging out on the show or we're talking about a conversation, it goes pretty broad. Sometimes it could be cannabis, any phase, organics, breeding, lights, la da da da. Sometimes, as stoners, we get off base a little bit and conspiracy theories and maybe a little bit of psychedelics, stuff like that. It can be pretty deep some nights. Some a lot of fun, but if you happen to come across the channel and it interests you, please join us. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It would be an honor not just for myself, but the folks that are in there at the time. I always like to hang out with some respectable folks too. It's always cool to, hey, you know who I got to smoke and hang out with today a little bit? Dark Horse fucking genetics, Bruce Banner. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean. It's always an honor to
Yeah, dude,
hang out with
it'd be a
somebody
pleasure,
cool like
man. Like I
yourself.
say, I've seen a few episodes, or I've kind of tuned in for a few minutes here and there. I've seen you guys on, but it's an honor to or get honored to be a guest. And yeah, like I say, now that I'm into the wormhole, then yeah, I might have to hang out every now and again, man. It was cool.
Appreciate it, man. We all would look forward to that. And yeah, man, it's been a great pleasure to get you on tonight. That I hope that you much more success street. I hope 420 just muted myself there. Kick your ass too much. I hope that you have plenty of stock to fill this 21 year full of dark horse genetics. I hope that the yearn or the need for dark horse is strong, throughout the year. And,
Yeah, I would
do you have
say
any things coming up that is on the hush hush that you might want to give them a little bit of a hint of something to be coming out sometime soon?
yeah, man, we actually haven't done a release, I don't think, in a whole year, which is probably the longest I've ever gone without a release. But I'm working on Fem Project, which I never really officially released like a full on Fem project. We've done limited Fem releases here or there, but I'm releasing feminized Bruce Banner. We're gonna just do Banner 3 S1s. There'll be Banner 3 to Banner 5s. There'll be like Banner to some of the gelatos and the Skittles. So I think it'll be a handful of different stuff. I mean, Scotties are in there. There's just a different, like a whole smorgasbord of shit that I sort of threw feminized Bruce Banner pollen on, and we're kind of going through that now. And I think that we're going to release a decent chunk of it as a feminized release. I'm still going to continue to do my regular releases as far as regular seeds, but we work a lot in Europe, and the Europeans are just like, where the fuck is the feminized shit? And we get knocked off a lot on the feminized stuff. So I'd rather put out a real version so I don't have to continually like let people down and be like, that's not real when they show me these weird Europe packs of like Bruce Banner and stuff. So yeah, that's coming. And I think that the demand will be pretty high on a feminized Bruce Banner 3 release. So I'm intent to make a large batch of it and remake it and release it a few times. So yeah, that's coming, and that hopefully will be out around June. That's sort of the plan. So we're rapidly approaching June, and I'm trying to get all the packaging together and everything sorted. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I think a big drop coming in June.
That should be a nice surge because everybody is hungry for femmes. I'd like to. I'm a reg guy myself,
Yeah.
but I like to have the option of having some femmes laying around, just especially when I don't have room to spare. You don't always have room to drop, a 10 or whatever. You just want to sneak in one or two or something new into the garden and want to have 100% success of getting that female. So femmes are nice to fill that slot. Oh man, it's so tight. I only got room for three in my count. Three in my count. I
I
need three ladies.
I
Fellas.
definitely like went against what I said I would do, which was I was never going to get in the feminized seed world when I introduced in 2014 or whatever it was. I was like, yeah, we're not going to do feminized seeds. I don't want to do feminized seeds. I kind of against feminized seeds, regular seeds all day. It's where I want to go. But man, the market and the demand and the number of emails I get that are like feminized seeds, feminized seeds, I was just like, all right, dude, I'll do it. We'll do it for you guys. We'll put it out. We'll do it. You know what I mean? And although I've come, I won't say turn full 360 or full 180 on my hate of feminized seeds. I've come around. We'll just say that I've come around. I don't know if it's a full 180 there, but I've come around. And I've gotten killer shit from Canorado. I think Canorado gear specifically got me to look at feminized seeds and be like, okay, um, this is there's actually some pretty stupid fire shit in here, and I could do this too. So let's put out some stuff like this.
They're asking in chat that they'll be dropped direct to your site.
Yeah, we'll probably do the Sea Bazaar, which is a site that it's a nonprofit co-op that we're part of. It's the seabazaar.com. And yeah, we'll probably do it there. And then obviously I think we're gonna do a worldwide release. So it'll go through my guys Pure Sativa and Attitude Seed Bank, and probably go through Neptune, maybe even the Oregon Elite guys. And I don't know. We'll send it far and wide, but yeah, I don't have an official like release date or anything yet. So I will certainly post about it on my Instagram and everything else. And I'm sure we'll also speak on it. I didn't really mention this too much on a show, but we do Dark Horse Live, which is a podcast too. So every Wednesday we do a show. I don't have the stamina for you, dude. You go every night. It seems like I think you do every day, but you go every night, and I give you all the credit in the world, dude. Because once a week I'm fucking like running around being like, I need to do a show. I need a guest. I need to figure out how the fuck to, what we're going to talk about and what we're going to do. And yeah, I don't know. I have way more respect for podcasters or video show guys or whatever than I did when I started. I thought like, oh, that'd be easy. You just, every week you talk to one of your friends, right? It's like, well, what happens after you talk to your 12 friends? It's like, then you got to figure out new people and chase new stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I have way more respect for this. It's way harder than it looks. It's hard to be a host. So yeah, it was a challenge for me. And I was just like, I want to put myself in uncomfortable positions as far as, in business wise and stuff like that. So I was just like, all right, dude, what am I not afraid of? But what would, what what would challenge me? What would make me uncomfortable? So it was like, put me in a fucking camera, give me a microphone, and let me figure it out. Well, I'm not really necessarily afraid of going on air. It's more just like, I don't know. It was certainly a challenge. When I watched Dark Horse Live episode 1, I'm like, holy shit, that's terrible. When I watched Dark Horse Live episode 50, I'm like, at least I know what the buttons do. It's still a pretty shitty program, but at least I know what the buttons do. I get away with my show because I give shit away, I guess. Other than that, it's pretty much a show on Wednesdays, 7 p.m., I guess.
On YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube. Dark Horse Genetics is our YouTube, so you guys could check it out on YouTube. There's 50 or so episodes on there. They're only an hour long, so I keep them short and sweet. Usually the guest interviews are only like 20, 30 minutes, but yeah, I give you, like I say, all the credit in the world too. Not only do you go every night, bro, you do 4 hours a night. So props, dude.
Mods, I'm hoping you guys are dropping that link in chat. They've been dropping you links for your IG and all that, your website.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm not even seeing the chat right now. So shout out to the chat gang, and fuck you to the guy who says I suck. It's all good.
There hasn't been not one of those.
It's all good. I just fucking around.
So, about doing it every night, man. I hear worry about who you're getting on. This two things I'll tell you about what I've learned in the fucking doing this every night. One, I have yet to like interview one of my close friends. Close, grew up with you, fucking yeah, no, not one have been on the show. Not one have been on the show. Totally skipped it. 2, I like what I agree with you. I love being, and I probably perform best being in that uncomfortable zone. So I don't fucking prepare for this at all. As far as questions for you today, zip. In fact, I didn't even load this up until fucking 11:28. I didn't even turn Zoom on. It keeps it more genuine, and it keeps it, there's times where I've sit here and stuttered a few nighttime questions. It's like, oh shit. But I think it's better TV. It makes it more genuine.
It's kind of funny you say that. I say it's kind of funny you say that because
that I've planned,
go ahead.
The guest never showed up.
Yeah, I get that too. We got mad cancellations, and usually it cancels 10 minutes before you're supposed to go on. It's like, really? Like what? Okay, well, let me just figure this out. I'll wing it, Wayne's World style or whatever. You know what I mean? But No, it's to your point about interviewing your friends and everything else. It's funny to me, I guess, talking podcast host to podcast host, like the ones that I enjoy the most. It's like what you might think. It's not exposing some dumb drama shit, or even the ones where I teach stuff, which I do kind of enjoy teaching things or whatever. But it's like it's the weird ones. Like I really like talking to Tommy Chong about weird shit about Motown and when he was coming up and knowing Michael Jackson when he was young and shit. It's like I just get into weird shit and I'm like, oh, that was really cool for me. Or we had an NFL player on that was just like, talk to me about who smokes weed in the NFL and like, oh, he's like, oh, we just drink, and he's like, I was a practice player, so we all get drunk at the games, and it was all the games were a party. We were all drunk, and I was like, wait, you guys are drunk on the field? And I was just like, those ones where I get way off. We had a hoodoo guy come on and do some weird fucking voodoo spell for business success and other weird shit, and there was fire and fucking rum spitting, and I was just like, we're so far away from XY chromosome fucking breeding cannabis, but like these are the ones that I really like. But at the same time, you know what I mean? I guess the people show up because it's a cannabis show, so you got to tie it back to cannabis now and again. But I guess I'd ask you a question in return, like of your guests, do you have any favorite guests, and was it specifically weed, kind of like I guess I'm talking about, or was your favorite guest go like way left field?
Oh, that's the toughie. I've got one episode that I won't even air. It got so uncomfortable. I've had I've had a couple of guests where we pre-show agreed we were gonna come on just completely tripping balls on mushrooms. And the one guest, Indo 11 was the guest. He jumped up like I don't know about every half hour, just sweat. He was hitting hard. He hit hard, and fuck, he'd be like, I gotta go like towel my head off and come down for a second. He would come back out, kind of refresh. He'd wash himself up. One time he through that thing, he disappeared for like 10 minutes. He come back, he's like, I'm sorry, man. I got lost in the mirror.
Yeah, see, you bring
It's
on multiple Zoom guests and get a party going. I mean, I handle one at a time for the most part,
it's yeah, that's what the wormhole's like a free for all. The wormhole's like that such of it where anything kind of happens in the wormhole. Like you said, it could be cannabis, it could be psychedelics, it's whatever in the wormhole. A lot of fun there. It's easier to keep things controlled or in a better conversation on the one-on-one, keep things steered somewhat. But as far as favorite guest, man, too many to call out. Just one is favorite. Uh, Amelia Jensen, the hash queen, she was pretty amazing.
Nice.
Some of the stories she told. Indra, another favorite, just amazing. Same type of things. We talked hash, we talked cannabis, but some of their life stories about going through India, different countries on foot and walking through the hills with their family. That shit's priceless, man. I sit here, man, fucking just like a fucking little kid watching, a TV, joint all rolled up. Fucking, oh shit, you know what I mean? It's hard to even cut in at some points, man. But there's been some good ones. I've had a lot of great people on. I haven't had no football players. I had Nagayo. I think as far as like big industry, like entertainment, Nagayo, the comedian. He's a comedian. I've had
Okay.
him on. That was a pretty fun episode. But I don't know, too many in particular to call out that one is my favorite. And I
Sure.
think that
It's shit's like I say, it's shit's harder than it looks, man. It's also harder to get the guests and all that. So yeah, like I say, more power to you for cruising and going. And you've built a nice audience, dude. Like I said, I've seen what you did. So I give credit to you.
man, I greatly appreciate you and thank you for you coming on and helping me get through another night, man. Tonight's been a great night. At one point, man, we've had 120 watching consecutive, in chat checking this out. So,
Word,
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
You've
Yeah, thanks everybody.
obviously brought some folks tonight. You brought some folks tonight, so thank you, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I say, yeah, I think I'm about ready to get out of here probably, but give you a couple more questions or any more questions, chat questions, anything else, anything you want to do before we get the heck out of here?
Uh, ask if he knows Jessica, the cheesecake lady.
Oh
If
yeah.
so,
Uh,
explains. Never mind. He planning her on. If he's planning or have, are you planning to have her on? I guess
But
that's
you
what
have
it's
her on, I guess, my show. Nah, I don't. Nah, not really. Jessica, I know the cheesecake lady though. Cheesecake lady was a lady that used to sell medicated cheesecakes around Red Rocks, and I grew up in Red Rocks parking lot. That's like my drug college. We went to Red Rocks every weekend, all summer, all through high school, just to sit in the parking lot and see who had drugs. And cheesecake lady be walking around with a basket full of cheesecakes, selling like $20 slices of cheesecake with weed in them. And yeah, we all knew her. And she's still around though. Like I say, she's still the Dunn show and stuff. And she comes on. She's like very political and everything. But shout out to Cheesecake Lady. I know her. She's my friend.
Oh, let's see if we got any more questions in the chat. Oh, Captain 420 was wondering he knows somebody that had clones in Michigan in 2014, 2015 in the Flint area.
It's very
His
likely.
comment back to that was,
It's very likely. Again, I'm not going to say you didn't have it at all. I think it's very likely that you did. And I do think Michigan was probably one of the earliest places that we saw Bruce Banner pop up of all the other states, because it was certainly in Colorado. It was in Montana because I had made it there and we left it there. And it was in Colorado. And yeah, I think Montana, or I'm sorry, Michigan was probably like second where it appeared. And then it appeared Cali and Oregon and I don't know, swept the nation.
trying to backtrack this question here. I can't find his original question. I think I'm going to save them. I'm going to save them. Oh, if you have any more questions, make sure I didn't miss any while I was scrolling up. Bendo Dope was another favorite. Thank you for passing that one out there. So I guess we'll wrap this one up. So one thing I'd like to get from you, hopefully I could get from you, corny thing I do, I don't know if you caught this, is the soundbite, my friend. And that is like the old school, like Rockstar when they come on and hey, I'm on 105.5, K Rock. Basically, that's what I'm looking for is something along the lines. Hey, this is Dark Horse Genetics, and I'm on fucking talking shit with Eagle, episode 385. You can add whatever you'd like to it, but this is gonna be pretty much the commercial for this year episode.
Okay, tell me
I'm
when you're
ready
ready, boss.
whenever.
I'll give you a couple of versions.
I'm ready.
Let me looking straight in the camera. What's up, everybody? This is Dark Horse Genetics, and you're watching Talking Shit with Eagle, episode 385. Watch that shit, motherfuckers. Give you another one too. Two for the money, one for the show. All right. This is Dark Horse Genetics, and you're watching fucking Talking Shit with Eagle, episode 385. Tune in, assholes. Maybe I shouldn't call everybody assholes, but
I like both. I like both.
I might have said Dark Horse Live the first time because it's a reaction of me. So maybe I said you have to watch the tapes. I say Dark Horse Genetics or Dark Horse Live. Either way. I could be both. I could be either genetics. Or. Hopefully I said.
But I'm glad you brought up the Dark Horse Live because I'm gonna plug that shit for you.
Well,
try
cool.
to help all the other ones.
We gotta go tit for tat. Yeah, since I came on here, I gotta get you to come on mine. So yeah, we'll definitely have to have you on if you're willing.
I am willing. But there was one other fucking thing I was gonna say. Oh, Oh, I wanted to mention, yeah, I snuck the shirt in on you. I've been debating on all fucking one day on whether or not I was gonna slide in the
I didn't
shirt
even notice it, bro.
because
You got a Dark Horse shirt on?
it's not yours
Yeah,
though.
it's definitely
It's
not me,
my
but what is
tattoo.
this? Tattoo
It's my
shop.
tattoo
Okay.
guy. He
Okay.
does all my ink there. It's a dark horse there.
Nice. I love it. There's like a Dark Horse Inn up here, a Dark Horse coffee shop. There's Dark Horse everything's around the country. There's Dark Horse wine in most people's liquor stores. So yeah, I don't know. Dark Horse Nation, dude. I feel some semblance to all of us. Dark Horse weed, Dark Horse tattoo shop, whatever. We're all dark horses out there. I've always been an underdog kind of guy. I always root for the underdog. So yeah, love dark horses.
I was waiting to say anything. I've debated on whether or not I was going to say anything just to see how many DMs you got to see it. It's like, hey, do you have a fucking tattoo shop?
Yeah, right. No, the first dispensary we had was connected to a tattoo shop though, so it goes perfect.
So thanks again for coming on. It's been a great conversation, man. You do, and if you get bored, man, you still got time tonight, whatever, man. You can still pop into the wormhole at some point. The invitation starts now for that
Yes,
type
sir.
of fun.
I got to finish a
Uh,
little seed
just
packing and probably hit the sack, but yeah, maybe one of the next ones, dude. I will try to make it back, but yeah, you're looking at one exhausted man.
right on, I'm sure. Just for note's sake, Monday nights is always guaranteed wormhole night. That's always Monday night is a designated wormhole night. So if you're ever
Okay.
wanting to bank on jumping in on one for sure, the other nights they may vary. So like if I were to go, if we would have went all the way to 420 tonight, there wouldn't have been a wormhole. You
I
know what
got
I
you.
mean?
I
So
got you. Yeah.
they vary. They vary from time and when they're popping up. But one day Monday is for sure a wormhole. So just
If you
throwing
ever get
that out
stuck or
there.
whatever, jump in the DM, man. I'm happy to jump on it, fill a hole for you, or jump in your wormhole. So you got the DMs, just hit it up, and I'll come back on. I'll set you up about doing our show. So once again, yeah, I appreciate it.
Man, I appreciate you, man. This has been a great episode. Get pack those seeds, get some rest, and I look forward to talking to you sometime soon.
Cool. I'm out of here. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Have a great night. Thank you guys for hanging out tonight. Uh, you guys know the deal. We're gonna fire up the wormhole here in a couple of minutes. Those of you that are not gonna transfer over to the wormhole, thank you for hanging out for one amazing night with Dark Horse Genetics. I see there's still 102, 102, 103 viewing right now, which thank you all. Thank you all very much, man. That's pretty much amazing, man. As you can see, my neck gave me goosebumps just the acknowledgement of that. You guys have a great night. If you're not going to transfer over into the wormhole, I greatly respect your time. And you guys know the routine. Please do something nice for somebody. Random acts of kindness do save lives. I'm a living, breathing example of that. I'm never going to quit saying it. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you in a few. I am out of here. Peace.